President Bola Tinubu has announced that the federal government will bar all ministries, departments and agencies, MDAs, from procuring foreign goods and services where local alternatives exist. This move is part of a broader effort to strengthen local industries and reduce import dependency. The directive was one of the key resolutions adopted at the Federal Executive Council FEC meeting held on Monday, and was shared in a statement issued by Sunday Dare, Special Advisor on Media and Public Communications to President Tinubu through his official X account. The subject matter this time is federal government banning unjustified importation of foreign goods. We're having this discussion with a finance and economics expert, Dr. Ajen-Alamonia Ibieneye. Good evening, Doc, and thanks for joining us.
Good evening. It's always a pleasure being with you, with Nigerians and the world in general.
When this information came to the news space that the federal government has banned what is now termed as unjustified importation of foreign goods, that is, if we can get a local alternative, we shouldn't, the MDAs shouldn't patronize imported goods, that's it, foreign goods. I don't know what your impression of this is. Did you receive that particular news on a joyous note or otherwise?
Well, there are diverse ways you look at it. One is to indicate that the economy is being looked at. Now, if you look at when the President Bola Tinubu came into office, he decided by record the subsidy be removed, and a lot of persons had a lot of complaints why he would have done that without putting some certain things in place before doing that, so pushing the effect on Nigerians. And as a result of that, there are lots of expectations. One is to see how the economy will improve. So this ban on importation, it's a welcome development. Welcome development in the sense that it has ripple effects on the citizens and the country at large. If the president has come up with such policy, it means that goods that are imported, and basically it will not just affect just goods per se, it will also involve in terms of the labor market, the kind of persons that are brought into this country to carry out various functions or in the labor force. Now, if some certain goods that are imported could be produced locally, it means that it will give an avenue for the local production to be sustained. If you decide to say no, everything should be imported, it tells on the economy and reduces the value of the naira. So hearing it would spark a lot of joys, belief to Nigerians. And if it is a situation where some persons who are used to importing all kinds of items or foodstuff that is being brought into the country, will begin to think of how to invest in local production. So it's a good one. This will not just amount to just foods, it will also amount to drinks, and all whatnot. So it's a good one. The only thing one should look at is that the government should begin to see how to empower the agricultural units. So basically like sugar, a lot of things that ordinarily is or could be generated in Nigeria here should not be imported. So it means that not all items that could be generated in Nigeria should be should be utilized, not to go to get for foreign countries. If you're not helping the system. So this will create job opportunities. This will also enhance the people to invest in our local economy. And I believe the turnover will be better off. It will be better off rather than trying to increase the rate of importation. Importation should be discouraged. And I think that will go a long way to better the lot of Nigerians.
We really have alternatives to those items we advised not to purchase. Do we have alternatives to them?
No, there are basically alternatives. Not that these items don't have alternatives. They have. For instance, if you look at importation of toothpicks to this country, toothpicks are basically gotten from trees, from plants. And there are a lot of plant trees where these toothpicks, for instance, could be extracted from. So all that is important is to see how to set up these industries, pushing the effects that would have affected people not to go into such productions or to make ends meet out of it. You know, it's the part of the function of the government to create a enabling environment for the citizens or the masses to be productive. If you look at, for instance, there are a lot of things like rice. Again, if you look at rice, there are some of them you could call stone free. There are some that has a lot of stones in them. But what it means is that in as much as importation is discouraged, it will amount to improving on the local production. If local production attention is keyed into it, you will see that there will be improvement. Like, let me cite an instance. If someone is skilled, the person is skilled and the person does furniture, for instance, the more the person does that job, you will see that the person improves on that job facility. So the situation is straightforward. If you decide to say no, there shouldn't be, because there is no alternative. There are alternatives, and even if there is none, they should be created. And I think the youth, the government, they have the technical know-how to bring that to reality or to limelight, and should not be discouraged.
Doctor, you mentioned that foods will be banned as well as drinks. What criteria will be used to, determine which foreign food is unjustified for importation?
Now look at rice. We have situations where there are imported rice that are plastics. And this is not good for consumption. But you agree with me that there is a lot of farmlands. There are a lot of people that have indulged themselves and that is still indulging themselves in rice production. Now, if this is done, there is no way in Nigeria where you see the production is done and people are now using plastic to produce it. There will be alarm. And this should be a yes. If, for instance, you also have drinks in the aspect of this, where they are adulterated, and these are harmful to human health. So if it is identified, because one, if the production is done here, it is for, we have now that we have a lot of people to regulate to see that the production, the end product is consumable. If we decide to say no, let us bank on products that are outside. What's the yardstick of us having that. You also find out that in farm produce or what we consume, people go into what would you call it? Like beds, like they go into farming where they rear beds, like chickens, turkeys, and all that. But these ones that are imported, you see that they actually use things like formalins to sustain them. And I think a lot of people try to buy thinking that they want to eat healthy food, but at the end of the day, they eat food poison, which is not good. But I think that whatever the situation is, if local production is done, it should be encouraged. And then the mechanism to ensure that good products are there should be the yardstick between the products that are imported and that which is locally produced. And at the end of the day, I think that we'll live a better and a more healthy life. In fact, a lot of people will go into those investments and to ensure that the environment, that's why we have NADAP and all of those health parameters to see that things are done in decent environments, clean environments, and all of that.
When the immediate past president, Muhammad Buhari, banned importation of some foreign goods, especially foods, foreign rice for one, we began to concentrate in our own local production. But the cost difference between the foreign, the imported rice and the locally cultivated rice is I didn't see much difference in the cost. Now, if we have new items banned, in fact, if this ban is implemented, do you foresee potential negative impact? And how could this impact on consumers be handled? How can we strike a balance, really, particularly regarding prices that I just mentioned and availability of goods, because that could also cause a problem?
Yes, to the availability of the goods. And when the former president, even the former president had a beautiful mindset to ensure that there is a lot of Nigerians don't go hungry. But you see, some persons in businesses, people go into business because they want to make profit. And in the terms by which they want to make profit, sometimes it's disastrous. If you find out that there is a certain number of persons that are into rice farming and they want to invest in it, they tend to monopolize it. They monopolize it in the sense that if they see this like 3, 4, 5 firms coming up with rice production, the next thing they do, they go to place a demand, high demand of these products. And you find out that when those products are out for them, they now increase the prices. Now, if you look at the situation, when the cost of those goods is now measured with those that are imported, and you now find situations where there are maybe sand or it's not properly done, you'll see that people don't want to go into it. Now, to the aspect where the quantity should be looked at, where there won't be scarcity in it, I think the government should encourage mechanized farming. It shouldn't be just this manual farming where people will go plant yam, and because if it is mechanized farming, you will find out that you could acquire vast land space, and then the production will be massive. Looking at the population of Nigeria estimated to be over 200 million. So I think the government should look at situations like that and also think of how to intensify mechanized farming. This will solve the problem of scarcity and will discourage the importation. Because if people want to eat and you don't have local producers, people will not starve. they will still look for a way to get those ones that are imported because it is handy. If it is not handy, people will not starve, especially when they have the finance to get whatever they want. They will be prepared to even smuggle these goods into the country, no matter what it entails.
What measures exactly are the federal or this government putting together in order to ensure that local industries meet up with demand and quality standards as well?
It's to the policy, this is a good policy of trying to stop importation and to ensure that local production uh, are encouraged is a good policy. Likewise, policies to ensure that the scarcity is not there because people will definitely need to sustain, they will need to feed through these means. Let's give or paint a scenario here. In as much as the ban is there, I think they should quickly ensure that farmers farmers actually have access to vast land space, and then there should be importation of tractors. In fact, the farming sector should be encouraged or should be focused. If this is done, you find out that some of these products, like the yam, the cassava, the rice, and all of those things, what's the time frame for this production if it is planted? So this should be the estimate or maybe the calculations when indulging into it. Because if you miscalculate, at least there should be a certain number while that is trying to put in the effect and to tackle the already available quantity of this imported product in the country. Before that will be exhausted, there should be commensurate production where people would not lack anything. Because if the situation is painted or pushed to the scenario where after these goods are exhausted and there is lack, it will boomerang to the federal government and to the government of the day, pointing out that they are not looking at the well-being of the citizens of the nation. So I think these offices are already there. It's just to encourage it, empower it by their means, and that will be fine.
Sometimes when we ban imported items, they somehow find their way back into Nigeria. Illicit trading via smuggling. Are there strategies we can put in place to ensure that these importation bans are effectively implemented, and not people also cashing out on that? Business people, businessmen trying somehow to smuggle these goods through the back door and then settling government officials while at it, enriching them and still getting the banned goods into the country.
You see, it is not far-fetched from reality. You would agree with me that one of the ways to tackle it will be through the pricing. If you find out that you have a product that is cheaper than what the other person that is importing it is portraying, you would, when you, at most, some persons would demarket it. They'll say, no, this one is not good, this is not good. But as long as those goods are available and people are buying them, the customer base will increase. Now, you don't go to produce in a country and then increase the amount, trying to equate it with imported goods. You want to kill the system. And so those persons within the borders to allow goods coming or not to go out, or maybe to prevent it, would have had an opportunity to make money from it. And whether we look at it from both ways. We will agree with ourselves that those persons also have families. They also have needs. They also need to feed. They need to pay their bills. So if these productions are there, automatically you find out that these foreign goods will die a natural death. Look at the if instances. I doubt if there are countries where you will not find products from China or maybe Japan products. It's not there. You always find these products. But how did these people come to those positions where they were able to provide for the economy and also grow and then ensure that other nations buy into their goods and services? It is consistency. If the government tend to be consistent and then when productions are made, the amount is not, because again, if somebody is going into business, you must count the cost. You check your capital, you look at the expenses, and then you also begin to look at the profit margin within those contracts. So if all put together is amounting to what the foreigners are even giving out, it will now act as if it's competition. So people will begin to look at quality. Remember that these other persons, over time, in their respective countries, they've spent a lot of time in their production. So they've improved over time. And if the same opportunity is not given for the Nigerian economy or the local product to get into the market, it will be bad. And we cannot all be importing, especially at this point in time in the nation where a lot of people are lamenting, a lot of people are being frustrated. I think if the government look at the budget and then begin to ensure that things are done within those sectors for mass production and for consumption, especially if the products are good. Because even in this country, there are rice that are produced that are stone-free. So I think that the situation could be improved and be encouraged. And at the end of the day, I think everybody will be happy for it.
Okay, Doc. In the long run, could this policy lead to inflation of or scarcity of essential goods?
Essential goods like what you mean by the essential goods? You see, inflation will always come where you have a system, you deal with people in business, people are bound to make profit, and whatever it entails for them to make that profit, even if it will amount to inflation, they have to make that profit. And so what the government should do is to set up this policy that will make inflation very little or, if possible, not in existence. So if you look at these essential goods, it is not only those goods you could even think that inflation could be attached. Those goods that you think that are not essential goods could also amount to essential goods depending on the importance that is attached to it. So I believe that the products, the basic needs, and then begin to finance those sectors without adding much of interest or percentage. If it is a situation where loans are given and people tend to embark on this investment, they will not be paying back through their notes. It is only through this medium you can find inflation creeping in. So I think the government has the technical know-how to ensure that these persons will, in fact, one thing that is also a major problem is dealing with the middlemen. The middlemen in the system sometimes are persons who don't carry out the express instructions of the federal government to the end user. So the government should come up with policies, mechanisms that will reach out to the people directly. I think when the former president of this country was there, he tried some of those strategies, not dealing with just the middlemen. For instance, if you look at when the former president was there, before he came up with the local government being autonomous, independent, so the people in the local communities can benefit from the allocations. Some of the governors were frustrating those efforts because they were the middle persons between the populace or the end users and the federal government. So this administration should come up with things that will make the individuals benefit directly or deal with the federal government as the scheme unfolds. I think this will go a long way to solve a lot of problems. Because some of the persons that are used as middlemen, some of them don't even have the ideology, the managerial skills to see how to reach the end users. Even if they want to, they lack the competence. So it's a problem in the system. So I think through this medium, this would go a long way to solve all of those issues.
When U.S. President Donald Trump slammed tariff on increase in tariff in some goods imported into the United States of America, there were, counter tariff slammed also on U.S. goods, and actually there was serious consequential reactions from some countries. And with this, now I don't know if you're foreseeing that import ban, this particular import ban, may affect Nigerian trade relationships with other countries, particularly those that will be those that export the so-called unjustified banned goods. Okay, I don't know if you anticipate any form of retaliatory measure in this.
No, definitely. Definitely. You see the Donald Trump position to Americans is not out of place. But to other nations of the world where the tariff is increased, it's a problem. Now, it is not to begin to kick against what Donald Trump has done, because what he has done is for the common good of America. And you see that some other nations decided to also increase the tariff in goods that are useful or maybe the Americans are consuming. I think that is a strategy. And in as much as this policy is being put in place, there is nothing wrong. There will definitely be counter views. But if these views are there, would you allow the country to continue to import while local production dies? You have a lot of people that have gone to school, graduated, no job. You have a lot of brilliant minds, but there is nothing to implement. You have people who have graduated even as engineers, they're not even, they can't look at the components and put them or assemble them together and get them to use. So I think the government should shut their ears and eyes against things like that, because they will definitely come, but should concentrate, focus on how the economy and the policies that are put in place to counter those tariff plan of these other nations be implemented, and not just being implemented, beneficial to the general public or citizens of this nation.
Dr. Ajen-Alamonia Ibieneye, for joining us on this signature evening this evening. Thank you.
It's always a pleasure.
Signature TV. News in your pocket.